analyze the discussion and the trade between Vice President Sara Duterte and Senator Rafi Tulfo regarding voluntary PTA contributions. And we'll try to look at the existing laws and what can be learned from this discussion.
At ni-require nila yung kanilang mga estudyante na mag-contribute. Paano po naging required to? Kasi what they do is they call a PTA meeting. Ito po yung doorway, Parents Teachers Association. So pagdating po sa PTA, ngayon, ang first agenda palagi is kailangan natin magbigay ng contribution para sa floor wax, etc. etc. Kailangan natin magawa agad ito. So ang nangyayari, yung mga magulang ng mga estudyante na walang-wala, napipilitan, peer pressure ang tawag po niyan, sapagkat ilan doon sa mga magulang na mag-aaral na can afford, tumataas ng kamay. Yung mga hindi po nagbo-volunteer, hindi tumataas ng kamay, na binabagsak. Yung mahilig mag-contribute, mataas ang grado, at honor students pa. Kaya ilan sa mga magulang na ito, napipilitan dumiskarte para lamang makapagbigay ng tinatawag na
is a gateway for us to try to look at the existing laws and the existing issuances of the Department of Education. So what is really prohibited in terms of contribution? So if you look at the omnibus guidelines on the regulations of operations of Parent-Teacher Association, we will know it's an avenue for the parents to provide their support to the teaching learning process and at the same time support the school. No matter what we do, it is a given fact that resources are really limited. Now, even if we say that it is trillions of a budget in the national level, but let us remember how many schools there are all over the country. Okay, and funds will be limited. And so, if you look at the membership of the PTA, if you look at this DepEd order, we will see na the only members in the PTA, basically majority are really parents, and even teachers, if they are members, they can only take up the position of a secretary of the SPTA, and the principal will only be an advisor. And even if that principal is a parent of a child, and he would go to another school, and if there's an election, he is not allowed to become a chairman, a president, a vice president, or a treasurer. Basically, it is an organization which the majority members are the parents. Okay, and we would like to see, here, what are the prohibited acts of PTA activities. Let's look at this. Engaging in partisan political activity. No, that's not allowed. No. PTA which are operating a canteen or a school supply store or being a concessionaire thereof inside the school or nearby premises, or offering their services to school as its client either directly or indirectly. We see that these people has approached Senator Raffy. We cannot really say that these are majority of the people, but sometimes this is simply because some of the teachers, some of the schools, even some of the principals are not aware of this DepEd order, and still they operate illegally and in violation of the DepEd orders. These concerns may be legitimate, but this should be provided to the office of the secretary, and then they can act, because this is a clear prohibition. Okay, but I think the problem here is with the solution that is given, because the solution that is suggested by the Honorable Senator is really to stop voluntary contribution. And we're going to analyze. If we have to stop voluntary contribution, the question there is, wouldn't that be, if we're going to implement that, would that go beyond the scope of the powers of the executive department or the Department of Education to implement? Because if you look at the existing laws, if you look at the Republic Act, it has been expressly provided that PTA contributions, as long as they are voluntary, are allowed. So let's try to look at it. So here, receiving forms of salaries, you are not allowed to do that. Remember that. Then selling insurance or pre-need plans or recruiting multi-level marketing, or other similar schemes, you're not allowed to do that. Using the name of school for unauthorized solicitation of financial and other resources from private donors or stakeholders. Remember this. Even I have noticed, I have received letters. Some of them were requesting for solicitation or financial or other resources from private donors or stakeholders. Okay? And mind you, these are politicians talking here, but just like to express, sometimes the problem comes from the politicians themselves, because they organize all these activities that would lead some students to focus not anymore on their studies but on other activities. For instance, there will be a festival. I'm not against that. But the thing is, if you're going to involve the mainstream people or the learners in the mainstream on that, there will be classes, whether you like it or not, there will be classes that will be compromised. And we are now in the situation of a learning loss, and it's getting back again, and we are giving a lot of importance to this. As we can see, we are forced, our teachers, our school heads sometimes are forced to raise funds because they have no choice. They have to find a way to support the local government. My humble suggestion is, why don't we engage the out-of-school youth and the people in the community who would like to participate on these activities? I'm sure they will be very happy to participate. And the funding for these festivals, these dances, for instance, will, number one, it takes time for practice because it takes a lot of resources to manage a group. It takes time to organize them. And number two, we also need fees, talent fees for those who would have to teach this huge crowd of people. So the question there is it appropriate for them, especially right now that we are now experiencing a lot of learning loss? Okay, so I have nothing against that. It's a very good expression of art, but please, let's also be sensitive that classes should be the primary consideration at this time where we have a learning loss. Okay, another problem is that here, some of the schools, in the guise of the PTA, they will solicit financial and or other resources from private donors or stakeholders. And the teachers are not signing it, but the PTA will solicit in the name of the school. So that is an authorized solicitation. Charging of service fees against amount collected from VSEs. Another one is engaging in fundraising activities in excess of what is allowed in Section 23.1.51. Other acts as circumstances analogous to foregoing. We're going to look at Section 23, 1.5.1. Then, according here, any violation of the provisions of this section shall be dealt with responding sanctions as provided by Section 32 thereof. There will be administrative cases provided. If you look at Section 23.1.5, not more than 4 fundraising activities to support the school's academic and co-curricular programs. So, only 4 fundraising activities, capacity building activities, subject to the DepEd policies and guidelines, provided that the SPTA shall comply with the no collection policy of the department. So what is the no collection policy? So here, honestly, this is sometimes we see that what is written in the law is not really followed. Okay? For instance, we would like to greet all our teachers who are listening now, Happy Teachers Day. But sometimes, to be honest, Teachers Day is not at all very happy for some of our teachers because oftentimes, they are invited to have a teacher's night. My humble suggestion is, can we make a teacher's night stress-free for our teachers? I mean, some of our teachers are asked to provide their own share of contribution for the teacher's night. Honestly, this is this is very stressful for some of the teachers. Maybe in my part, because I don't know how to dance. That's number one. And number two, I have to spend a lot of money and time just to practice. And it's very stressful for me when I was a teacher to leave my students just to practice. Because whether you like it or not, this is a night presentation and you have to spend time to really practice before you present. So whether you say, we will just do our practice after the teaching hours, how about the time for rest for our teachers? These are times that they have to prepare for their lesson plan. Teachers are very busy. We know how busy they are. And sometimes we just have to really support the efforts of those people in the community who are trying to organize these events. With all due respect, we appreciate the effort. But honestly, can we just make a teacher's night or a teacher celebration stress-free for our teachers? For instance, why don't we invite them? And instead of us or the teachers presenting, why don't we invite presentations from really true performers and the ones who will really enjoy the show and give honor. We give honor to the teachers themselves. Share to them how important their role is in the society and how much impact they can do if they do their job well. In other countries, their teachers' night is all about giving tribute to the teachers. They just they give freebies to the teachers. They give free massage to the teachers. They talk about stories, great stories about teachers, and expose the heroism of the teachers that are doing their job well. Inspire other teachers. Why don't we get away from all those expenditures? Which most of the teachers are already financially challenged because of all those loan sharks that are slowly killing the financial capacity of the teachers. And then we ask them to contribute something for the teachers' night. That's too much. For a teacher who is already experiencing financial crisis, and then we will still add up to their situation. I hope that will be a point of reflection for all of us. And I'm happy that the Vice President issued a DepEd order saying that these community activities, as long as they are not related to the learning of the learners, they can say no. So thank you, Vice President, for doing that for us. But honestly, it's not enough. It should be a whole community approach wherein everyone should realize that we have to free up our teachers from all this load in order for us to allow them to focus more on teaching, to demand more on the side of teaching, rather than demanding more on the extracurricular activities, which are not really related to teaching. Why are we asking our teachers to dance? If they have to spend a lot of money for them to dance, then don't let them spend for it, for their costume. If you want them to dance, and make sure that all these teachers who are doing it really love to express, during the time, really would love to dance and express their creativity through dancing. But nonetheless, it's not a good idea considering that they have to practice. Now, that's just my point there. Whether you like it or not, you will enjoy the presentation, but at the back side, the other side of the coin, there were classes who were compromised on that great performance. And there were resources spent for that great performance. Why don't we spend all that money? We have a problem here in the classroom. Lack of classrooms, lack of resources, lack of instructional materials. Why don't we spend all those money to that? Instead of, that will make our life easier. Not just in one night. Not just on one night, but almost for the next set of time that we will be exposed to our classes. You give classrooms television sets or materials for our students to help them engage. Do a feeding for our learners. All those money spent there would be very useful. Okay, and then let's look at the no collection policy. Let's try to analyze. Is there really a policy in the Department of Education that collection is not allowed? And it is purely voluntary. So if you look at this is the latest. Pursuant to the constitutional mandate, the provision of free public education in the elementary and secondary schools to meet the country's targets for education for all, Plan 2015, the Millennium Development Goals with respect to primary school participation, there is an urgent need to remove obstacles to the enrollment in school-age children. So we should not impede the accessibility of education to these learners. So therefore, this should be strictly observed. No fee shall be collected in the first month. But here, this prohibition shall cover, among others, the authorized but voluntary contributions such as the BSP, GSP, Red Cross, Anti-TB Fund, and PTCA. So here, no fee shall be collected. Shall is equivalent to should, enrolling in preschool up to grade 4 during the enrollment period at any time during the school year. This prohibition shall cover, among others, the authorized but voluntary contributions such as BSP, GSP, Red Cross, and PTCA. For grade and year levels beyond grade 4, no collection of any type should be undertaken during the enrollment period and the first month of classes. So here, in the first month of classes, it is not allowed. Starting on the second month, this is for grades 4 and beyond. Starting in the second month, contributions for the following may be collected, but only on a voluntary basis. So here, we see the following are allowed. We have Boys and Girl Scout membership, then Red Cross membership, Anti-TB Fund drive, and then we have the PTA, that's already the parents, teachers, and school publication, membership in student organization. And this is voluntary. This is voluntary. Sometimes what is really missing here is the definition between and trying to distinguish between voluntary and involuntary. Voluntary, is something that you have to do by your own will. You are not coerced to do it. But please, our teachers, we are also asking, and especially our school heads, let's try to emphasize this. Voluntary in a sense that it is really voluntary. You don't take it against the learner if they fail to provide that amount The thing here is that it is a question of equity. So PTCAs may start their collection only after presenting their members and to the school administration a report of the utilization of the previous school year's collection. The amount of contributions of the PTA-CA shall be agreed upon in a General Assembly. There's an omnibus policy on this and all the amount stipulated. So what is the basis of the no collection policy? Number one, it's an act prohibiting the collection of contributions from school children of public primary intermediate schools. This was enacted on 1965. So as you can see, there are two parts here. Number one is the Republic Act. The DepEd order is really patterned from a Republic Act. No? So as you can see here, there is a prohibition, whether voluntary or otherwise, is hereby prohibited. Okay, so it says here the collection of contributions for Red Cross, anti-tuberculosis, PTA, school athletic meet, medical and dental services for any other project or purpose, whether voluntary or otherwise, from school children or public primary, is hereby prohibited, provided, however, that this prohibition shall not cover membership drives of Red Cross. Okay, so all of them were prohibited on 1965, except for Red Cross. So any person who violates the provision of this act shall be punished by a fine of not less than 50 pesos or no more than 100 pesos, because this was 1965. But on June 18, 1966, what happened was it was amended, an act prohibiting the collection of contributions from school children. So here, Section 1 of Republic Act number 4206 is hereby amended. So it was amended on June 18, 1966. So there was a discussion there for Senator Tulfo to really amend the existing law. But this one is on 1966, the Republic Act 4206 was amended. And according to here, Section 1, the collection of contributions for anti-tuberculosis, PTA, school athletic meet, medical and dental services, or any other project or purpose, whether voluntary or otherwise, from school, children and teachers, or public primary, is hereby prohibited, provided, however, that the prohibition shall not cover membership of fees of pooled children in Red Cross. Then they included Girl Scout, the Philippines, and Boy Scouts. So PTCA contributions are not allowed, even voluntary, during this time. It was amended on 1966 by virtue of Republic Act 4725. But in June 21, 1969, this was enacted by the Senate. Okay, so here 4206 is hereby amended to read as follows: the sale of tickets or other collection of contributions in any form whatsoever by any person for any project or purpose, whether voluntary or otherwise, for school children, students, and teachers of public and private schools, are hereby prohibited, provided, however, that this prohibition shall not cover membership of Red Cross and Girl Scout of the Philippines and the Boy Scout, provided finally the prohibition shall not cover contributions of parents and other donors or support of Barrio High Schools. So Barrio High Schools has been included. Section 2 of the same act is hereby amended and read as follows: any educational institution who violate the first shall be punished of a fine not less than 1,000 pesos but not more than 2,000 pesos, or imprisonment for not more than 1 month, or both, in the discretion of the court. If the violation is committed by private educational institution, the Secretary of Education at his discretion shall, in addition to above penalty, suspend or revoke other to cancel the authority to operate such educational institution. So you're not really allowed to sell a ticket and collection of contributions whatsoever. And here you see that the PTA contributions of parents and other donors for the support of Barrio High Schools. So basically, they are now allowed. It's expressly provided here that it shall not cover membership fees of school children and students in Red Cross, Girl Scouts, and contributions of parents and other donors in support of Barrio High School. Okay, so there is also an allegation on equity.
So ang nangyayari, yung mga magulang ng mga estudyante na walang-wala, napipilitan, peer pressure ang tawag po niyan, sapagkat ilan doon sa mga magulang na mag-aaral na can afford, tumataas ng kamay. Yung mga hindi po nagbo-volunteer, hindi tumataas ng kamay, na binabagsak. Yung mahilig mag-contribute, mataas ang grado, at honor students pa. Kaya ilan sa mga magulang na ito, napipilitan dumiskarte para lamang makapagbigay ng tinatawag na
according to Senator Tulfo, he said that some of the teachers are already taking it against those students who haven't contributed to be honor. Those who contribute will be given opportunity to become honor students. Those who can't contribute are given low grades. In short, grading is based on the contribution of the PTA. It's a factor that is being considered. Now, this is a problem if the teacher does not know the importance of equity in the classroom. The Department of Education has given importance to equity. No? But what is equity? No, let's define it. The highest performing educational system are those that combine quality with equity. So what is equity? Equity in education means that personal or social circumstances such as gender, ethnic origin, or family background are not obstacles to achieving educational potential. The definition of fairness and all individuals reach at least a basic minimum level of skills. No? In this inclusion education system, the vast majority of students have the opportunity to attain high-level skills, meaning regardless of their own personal and socio-economic circumstances. We don't take it against our learners if they can't afford to provide us with the voluntary contribution. No, we don't take it against our learners if they can't contribute. Okay, so that's the problem there. Because if we take it against our learners, they can't contribute, and then we take it against them because they haven't contributed anything, no, for the PTA, etc. No, that's a no. In fact, if you look at the Basic Education Development Plan of the Department of Education, equity is already part, no, of the 5 thrust. No, this is 5 because governance is already integrated across the 4 intermediate outcomes. So access, we want everything to be accessible to our learners. Equity, no, the disadvantaged demographics of the learners should not be a hindrance for them to learn. No, let's always take note of that. For example, right now it's the opening of classes. Now, I would like to appeal to our teachers. I know you are already requiring a lot of requirements for notebooks, etc. Pero I hope you will also emphasize to your learners that it doesn't matter if it's a used notebook, because you are also, if you demand that it's a new notebook, you are demanding from the learners and you are discouraging those learners who can't afford the school supplies. My appeal is that we need to be sensitive to the context of each of our learners, because that is a very important thrust in making sure that our learners feel that they belong inside the classroom. Okay, so if we have learners who have parents who can't afford their school supplies, would that be something that will hinder them from going to school? Because some of them might feel very shy to go to school just because their notebooks are not covered, their notebooks are not new, they don't have new school supplies. My appeal is that once we implement it, our DepEd orders already states here that equity is important, that we should be sensitive. Sometimes, in the implementation of the field, sometimes we don't, we discriminate. And sometimes it's unintended. I understand that. It's unintended. Some of our teachers might, the intention is not really there. Please, let's put ourselves in the shoes of our learners. Imagine yourself, going inside the classroom, all your classmates have new notebooks, new school supplies, and your family really has a family problem. You're a child, you can't afford it. So how do you go inside the classroom with all full confidence when you don't have all the materials? Of course, it will be somehow discouraging. So I appeal, if we can spend a lot of money for festivals, etc., why can't we spend money for this to ensure that all our learners will feel that they are ready to go to school in the first day of classes? So we appreciate all the full support. There are a lot of good governors, local government mayors, who are doing their best to support the learners. But sometimes this is a very crucial part, because some of them might feel discriminated. Much more than the PTA contribution. Please, do not discriminate among your learners in terms of their contribution. In fact, as much as possible, my suggestion is there should be no list in the part of the teacher. The money, very important point to emphasize. The only role of the teacher in the PTA is the secretary. So our job is to, if you look at the omnibus policy in PTA, our job is just to prepare the minutes and to document everything, because we're good at that. We're documenting what has been agreed, creating resolutions, etc., just checking for the attendance. That's our role. We should not be taking the role of a treasurer. We're not allowed to hold money. So there should be a designated PTA treasurer who will hold the money for the PTA. And it should be deposited in a bank, the name of PTA. Okay, so it's a very important provision that we have to understand. And I hope that it's not just merely on a DepEd order. It is really followed in what is in real life. So these allegations might not be true to everyone. No, but I'm hoping we will do our best to avoid these circumstances, because if these are true in a particular instance, even to one child, that one child is already deprived of his constitutional right of access to education. So please, no, even if their family is poor, we should not let that become a hindrance to the child continuing his or her education. So that is what is important.
Madam Chair, Your Honor, number one, you asked the question on how you can help. Paano kayo makatulong na senator na kayo ngayon? Pwede po kayong gumawa ng batas na ipagbawal po ang voluntary contributions sa mga PTA.
We see here a very good suggestion by our Vice President. Let us understand, if you look at the Supreme Court decisions, it says here that the executive department is only limited, its power is what you call a subordinate legislation. So, since the power to legislate is really lodged in the Congress, like the senators, like the congressmen. So here, the subordinate legislation is that the regulation must be germane to the objects and purpose of the law, and that the regulation be not in contradiction to, but in conformity with the standards prescribed by law. So if the law says PTA can donate, their donations can help, then this, in a sense, should be accepted. These donations should be accepted. It should not be in such a way violate the principles of equity among our learners, because that is what is written in the law also. Under the first test, or the so-called completeness test, the law must be complete in all its terms and conditions when it leaves the legislature, such that when it reaches the delegate, the only thing we have to do is to enforce it. The second test, or the sufficiency standard test, mandates that there should be adequate guidelines or limitations in the law to determine the boundaries of the delegate's authority and prevent the delegation from running riot. So we see that there is also a limitation in the law provided, so that the executive department will not have a free hand. So at least in this situation, we should not also deprive our schools if we completely stop voluntary contributions. Okay, you think of this. How about those schools who are badly needing the support of the PTA? Good for those schools who have enough budget, especially for big schools who are having thousands of pesos for MOE. They have the opportunity to have that. But if we create a law which will unilaterally deprive our schools who badly need support for the PTA, from the PTA, even voluntary contribution is not allowed. Unilateral. So there's no one-stop solution in the Department of Education. Each school has a different context. And I would like to appeal to our senators, and they are there, they know their job, to study this very closely, because what will be affected will be the learners. So it's good to say na in your side, because you are looking at it in a general level, it's trillions of pesos. But it's not the same distribution in terms of money in every school, okay? And if there is allegation that that school did not receive MOE, so far, in my case, I haven't seen any school who have no MOE allocation. All of them has an allocation, but it differs depending on the number of learners, and there's a formula for that, computation. And sometimes the school head is limited on the procurement, because procurement takes time. And number two, also there are things that are not allowable, and sometimes the PTA can complement. Now, what if the purchase has to be done immediately, because it is something that the classroom direly needs at that time. So if you just unilaterally say now we will stop all voluntary contribution, even those who are in a form of donation, then what do you think will happen to those schools? So would that be something prejudicial to our people? Okay, so we have to think about that, because I'm sure these people are also thinking about us. A one-stop shop solution for everything is not always a solution. And also, let's understand also the provisions in the Republic Act. If this has to be changed, there should be a law that will again change whatever decision or the Republic Act here, whatever was provided here. So it shall cover also PTA expressly, cover that PTA contributions are not, voluntary contributions are not allowed. Now that's the only way, because as we all know, the executive department, or the Department of Education is not empowered to create their own laws. They can only create administrative acts related to that these laws, these statutes that are created will not prejudice our learners, because whether we like it or not, there will be people who will be affected if we just unilaterally create laws without thinking about the context of others. So I think you have learned something from our discussion today with existing laws in the Department of Education. I am praying that there will be further change from our Vice President Sara has been continuously working on helping the Department of Education achieve better outcomes. Again, I would like to reiterate that this is not just a one-stop unidirectional approach. All members of the community should help together to address the learning loss. We have a serious problem now. The learning loss is real. The need now is more contact time, and teachers who can focus on their teaching, and learners who can focus on learning, and a support group in the name of the administration who can provide real support to the teachers to teach better. To teach better, not to perform better in festivals, to perform better in shows, to teach better. And I am hoping, with the leadership of our leaders, we'll be able to, and with their guidance, we'll be able to help transform the lives of our learners and help create a better Filipino. I hope you have learned something today. Thank you so much for listening. In this channel, our advocacy is to help teachers learn and teach better. We have resources here to help our teachers become good demonstrators for the PPST RPMS. That is now our current advocacy. And we are here to analyze the current laws and provisions. And at the same time, please share this video so that we'll be able to help more teachers. Because here in this channel, our advocacy is to help our teachers teach better so that they can help our learners, the future generation of this country. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in our next video.